Hello everyone, welcome to the audiobook. This is Sureka Ramachandran. Today's book is Out of Time. Okay guys, let's go inside the book. Out of Time, Lost on the Titanic, Book 1. Saturday Stranger. The last thing Ali and Vic Taylor wanted to do on Saturday morning was clean, but they helped their parents in their shop anyway, just like they did every weekend. The out of time antique stores on the corner of the 3rd and Spruce in Philadelphia was the family business, and the whole family kept it running. Ali polished a silver tea set while Vic dusted off an old violin. The black and white puppy Luna, who was very good for petting but not so good at fetching, walked all around the store. She would around their legs and under the table and licked Ali's feet. Ali laughed while keeping her eyes on the little silver cup in her hands as she cleaned it. Mom had warned her to be careful with this set. Mom was hoping to find the teapot to go with it, but Ali hadn't found it in the pile of stuff yet. While she worked, Luna's sweet brown eyes and wiggly tail were begging Ali to take her out. Vic, can you take Luna for her walk? Ali asked. As much as she loved Luna, she had been the one to take her out the last 3 times and they were supposed to take turns. You take her. I'm doing an important job and can't be interrupted, said Vic. Ali sighed and set down the cup. Big brothers were so bossy, even when they were only 1 year older. Ali reached for Luna's leash, but just as she did, the little bell on the door chimed. A customer? They hadn't had a customer all week, but it was only Vic's best friend, Max. Hi, Vic, Max said. Want to go to the park? He can't, said Ali. He is doing a very important job and can't be interrupted. Vic crossed his arms and shook his head. Ali gave him a sweet smile. Luna barked at them both. Max laughed. Whose side are you on? Vic asked Max. Luna's, he said, grinning. Max sat on the floor and patted Luna to settle her down. What's the important job? Mom had a doctor appointment and Dad had to run to the store for the parts for our furnace. It stopped working again last night, Vic said. So we are helping them clean up their latest loads off. Ali waved her hands towards the table overflowing with objects of all sizes and colors. Junk? Max asked. Don't let them hear you say that, Vic said. They're hoping something in here will be worth a lot of money, Alice said. She wasn't sure how an old bowl or teapot could be worth enough to replace their furnace or take care of any other problems in their building, which always seems to have problems. But she hoped her parents were right. The last thing she wanted to do was move out of their home, which was right above the shop. She would live there her whole life, and she loved walking to school and the park and the sandwich shop around the corner. Ali couldn't imagine ever living anywhere else, but she would overhear her parents many times talking about how hard it was to afford living there. She would do anything she could to help, even Saturday morning chores. I will help, Max offered, giving Luna one last belly rub. It will get done quicker and then we can all go to the park. Vic handed Max a rag and some polish, if you say so. Luna lay down in a huff under the table. Sorry, girl, Alice said. We will go out soon, I promise. Just as they got back to the work, the bell on the door chimed again. This time it was real customer. Luna barked and barked. It had been a long time since the stranger had walked through the door. Vic held her collar so she wouldn't jump on the only customer they would had in a days. The woman was tall and had long brown hair done up in a style unlike anything Ali had ever seen before. She wore a purple dress, a green cloak, and tall black boots, and she had a red bag strapped around her waist. But what really stood out were her honey colored eyes. Something about the woman was familiar, but Ali couldn't quite figure out what. Can we help you? Ali asked. I am looking for Allison and Victor Taylor, the woman said. She had an accent that none of the kids recognized. Do you know them? I am Victor, but everyone calls me Vic. And this is my sister, Ali. Do you mean you want to talk to our parents? No, the woman said. A large smile spread across her face. I came to see you two and you. She pointed at Max. Me? Max said. Why me? Because this involves all 3 of you and your futures. My name is Jennifer. I have something important to give you. But before she could finish explaining, Luna began barking and lunging at her again. Luna, quiet, Vic said. Sorry, she is not usually like this. He tried to hold on to her, but Luna pulled away from Vic's hand and jumped right up on the woman, nearly knocking her out. Something round and glowing fell from the woman's hand with a loud thunk. It jingled as it rolled across the floor. All three kids grabbed for it, but no one could move quicker than Luna. She gobbled up the glowing ball in one gulp. Chapter 2, The Infinity Spinner. Luna! Vic yelled. No! It's too late, Alice said. She tried to look in Luna's mouth. She swallowed it. Hey, at least Luna fetched, said Max. Fetching usually involves bringing the ball back, Jennifer said. Ali couldn't tell if she was angry or making a joke, but she looked worried. Excuse me, ma'am, but what was that thing? Asked Ali. She imagined all kind of bad things happening to Luna. It was glowing. It's not going to explode, is it? She wrapped her arms around Luna. No, no, no. Jennifer sighed as if she saw this sort of things every day. Nothing of the sort. Luna will be just fine. I don't think it's good for her to swallow anything whole, Vic said. We should probably take her to the VET. He had to spell it because Luna hated going to the veterinarian and she would run and hide if she heard him say the word out loud. Good idea, said Jennifer, because we need that infinity spinner back. The sooner the better. I have a lot to teach you. Ali looked at Vic, who looked at Max. What's an infinity spinner? Max asked. And will it do something bad to Luna? Ali asked. It won't do anything, at least. Not on its own. It's kind of like a GPS that works in time and space, Jennifer said, but it can't fall into the wrong hands. She looked at Luna, or stomach. Jennifer must have been able to tell that Ali wasn't believing any of this because she said, I know it sounds crazy, but your future depends on us getting that spinner back. What is that supposed to mean? Vic asked. I will explain everything once the vet. Shh, Vic said. She knows the word. He covered Luna's ears with his hands. I will explain everything once the VET helps Luna. I promise, but we don't have a lot of time to waste, said Jennifer. Ali ran over to her parents' desk and found the vet's number. Her hands were shaking, so Vic took the phone and made the call. When he told them it was an emergency, Ali's heart felt like it was beating extra hard. If only she would have taken Luna out earlier, none of this would have happened. Luna was only a puppy, she didn't know any better. Everything will be okay. Max brought the leash to Ali. Ali attached it to Luna's collar and all five of them left the little shop on the corner. We walk to the VET all the time, Ali told Jennifer. She gets into a lot of trouble. Jennifer laughed. I know. Max raised his eyebrows at Ali. She shrugged. Maybe Jennifer had seen them walking to the vet before. She didn't care. She just wanted Luna to be safe. Luna seems to be feeling fine, but when they got closer to the vet, the dog realized where they were going. She began bouncing around and barking. Luna pulled so hard she nearly dragged Ali off the sidewalk. Jennifer tried to help, but before she could, Luna twisted just right and slipped out of her collar. She ran down the sidewalk and away from the vet, dashing between people as she went. Luna! All three kids yelled and chased after her. Jennifer yelled for them to wait for her, but they kept going. They had to stop Luna from running away hours running into traffic. Max was the fastest, sprinting ahead of Vic and Ali. Luna looked back at them twice, but she just kept running. It looks like she was even smiling at them, enjoying the chase. Luna! Ali pretended she had something in her hand. Treat! Genius, Max said. Luna stopped running. She turned to them. She sniffed the sidewalk. She sniffed a man's shoe. The man grabbed at Luna, relieved that someone had stopped to help. All three kids ran towards him, but he had a smile on his face that wasn't entirely friendly, and he was wearing a long cloak like Jennifer's. Only it looked like it was made out of something like tin foil, which didn't make any sense in the middle of the afternoon. Actually, it didn't make any sense at any time. Ali did not like the look on his face and she wanted her puppy back. No, Jennifer yelled when she saw him startling everyone. The man let go of Luna and ran. The Luna went right on sniffing. Who was that? Vic asked. Just get the dog, Jennifer yelled. Fast! The Luna started chasing her tail. What in the world is she doing? Ali asked. I think she forgot about the VET, Max said. Now is our chance to catch her, Ali said. They snuck up on Luna as she spun 5 times, happily playing with her own tail like it was the very first time she would seen it. But just as Vic was about to grab her, they were blinded by a flash of light. Then the three of them were lifted off their feet and everything seems to spin. The last thing Ali heard was Juniper yelling, "Wait!" When the flash of light was gone and the spinning stopped, Ali rubbed her eyes. They were no longer standing on a sidewalk in the city. They were in the middle of the ocean on the deck of a very large ship. Chapter 3. All Aboard. Ali grabbed the railing. Luna was nowhere in sight. Ali tried not to panic, but Luna was still so young. How would she know what to do on a ship? How would they know what to do on a ship? This had to be some kind of strange dream. Ali stared at the enormous stacks above them. Max leaned over the railing and peered at the ragging waves beneath the ship. The air was very cold and damp. It made Ali's nose and throat hurt a little. Max was the first to speak. "What just happened?" "I'm not sure," said Vic, "but I think we are on the ocean liner. One of those huge ships that used to carry people across the Atlantic. It looks like the Titanic." Ali whispered. Although she was worried about Luna, history was Ali's favorite subject and she couldn't help but be amazed at what she saw. She would learn about the Titanic in school, and this ship looks like a page right out of her textbook. But there were no way they could be standing on the deck of a ship that had sunk more than 100 years ago. "Yes," Vic said, "exactly like the Titanic." But he looked like he didn't believe what he was saying. He also looked a little scared. That worried Ali. Vic were never afraid of anything. "That's not possible," Max said as a man wearing a top hat and a long coat came towards them, looking at the three of them like they were creatures from another planet. As the man walked past, Max reached up and tapped the man's hat. "Max!" Ali grabbed his arm. Fortunately, the well dressed man kept walking. "I know it's not possible, but we are looking at it," Vic said. "One second you were trying to catch Luna, and the next we are standing here." "Her spinning must have sent us here," Ali said. "Her spinning and that spinner stuck inside her." Ali thought about poor Luna lost on this huge ship all by herself. The poor pup had never even seen the ocean. "Just like Juniper said, a GPS for the time and space," Max said. "What if she was telling the truth? What if it turned Luna into a portal of some sort?" "Where is Luna?" Ali asked. She looked down the deck in both directions and all she saw were the people in the distance. The ship was so big it was like looking down several city blocks. "It's freezing. We have to find her and get home." "How do you suppose we do that?" Max asked. "Swim?" Ali hugged herself to keep warm. "If we are right and Luna's portal and chasing her tail got us here, chasing her tail again has to get us back, right?" Neither of the boys answered. They walked the deck for a while looking for their black and white dog. They passed lifeboats hanging above the deck and large red and white floating rings. Everywhere they looked, there were doors and passageways leading off of the deck. Ali might have actually enjoyed exploring the massive ship if she weren't so worried about Luna and getting home. Every once in a while they called Luna's name, but there were no sign of her, and Ali wasn't sure if Luna would even be able to hear them over the crashing waves and groaning ship engines. She also wondered if maybe Luna hadn't made it to the ship in the first place. Maybe she would spun off somewhere else. Maybe three of them were stuck there. If Vic were right and this was the Titanic, they were in the very big trouble. As they turned the corner near the front of the ship, a man dressed in a white cap and a black jacket with lots of buttons stopped them. Ali knew he had to be a part of the crew. His name tag said Officer Lowe. "What are you kids doing up here?" Officer Lowe asked. He had a British accent. His nose was red from the cold. "Get back to your quarters. This section is for the first class passengers only." The officers stood still, blocking their way. Ali saw a few people behind him, women dressed in full ruffled gowns and men dressed all in black. No one was wearing jeans or sweatshirts like she and the boys were. Everyone looked elegant and old-fashioned, like the people in the antique photographs her parents never sold. But there was still no sign of Luna. Sir, Ali asked, what is the name of the ship? Officer Lowe looked at her like she was trying to start trouble. Little lady, unless you are stowaway, you know perfectly well you were aboard the unsinkable Titanic. Now off with you. Get back to the third class where you and these other ruffians belong. Yes, sir, Vic said, trying to pull his sister and the best friend along. We are leaving. Sorry to bother you. Vic, Ali, and Max turned and quickly walked back in the direction they would come from. Well, I think now we know for sure what the infinity spinner does, Vic said. He stopped walking and pointed to one of the floating rings. What? Asked Max. But Ali already saw what Vic was pointing at. Printed on the side was RMS Titanic. There was no doubt now. Juniper Infinity Spinner had made them travel through the time and space, and it had landed them on the deck of the Titanic. This is not good, Max said, shaking his head. Not good at all. Way worse than the VET. We have got to find Luna, and fast, Alice said. The ship is enormous, Vic said. Where do we start? If I know anything about Luna, said Max, is that she loved to eat? Ali nodded. Yes, the kitchen. We have to find the kitchen. I think it's called a galley on a ship. And on a ship this big, Ali thought there were probably several. She had learned that the Titanic had many levels of living quarters, and she guessed that each one probably had its own galley. Any one of them would be Luna's personal puppy paradise. We have to start somewhere, she said, pushing open a door that led into a long, bright, warm passageway. Let's follow our noses. Hello everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this audiobook 1. We will meet in next audiobook 2. If you like this audiobook, please click the like button and subscribe it. Thank you.